Hey, and welcome back to the Neural Dojo podcast. This is the spot where humans and AI meet to think out loud. I'm Kyrie, aka KT, the AI sensei, and we got some catching up to do. So let's get into it. Okay, so riddle me this. What happens when the AI story you thought you understood keeps getting bigger? Because back in episode 38, we broke down what happened when OpenAI lost control of its AI during cybersecurity testing. We talked about the Hugging Face breach, why I didn't think people saying things like the AI went rogue was the best way to describe it, and what people building with agents could learn from it. Well, apparently that was chapter 1. Since then, Anthropic found its own incidents. Meta had one. Government researchers documented even more unexpected agent behavior. And now we've got a completely different question about what happens when people intentionally put this kind of capability to work. So yeah, this is basically part 2. So let me catch y'all up. All right. So boom, at the end of my last video about this whole OpenAI and Hugging Face situation, I literally said, I think that's going to be it for this series. Yeah. Apparently AI wasn't going to let me do that, because every single time I think we finally have the full story, some new piece of information comes out that changes what we know. So what I want to do here is kind of reset the board. If you watch the original videos, I'm going to speed run the part you already know. And if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to catch you up real quick, and then we're going to get into what's happened since. So here's a quick version. OpenAI was testing GPT 5.6 Sol and another more capable internal research model to see how good they were at advanced cybersecurity tasks. The goal was basically score as high as possible on the benchmark. These models were supposed to be inside an isolated testing environment with basically no access to the open internet, except they found a way out. They discovered a previously unknown vulnerability in Artifactory, which is basically a central storage hub for software packages, containers, and AI models. So it used that to reach the internet and eventually targeted Hugging Face because they believed Hugging Face might have information that could help them beat the test. And Hugging Face later reconstructed over 17,000 actions across about 4.5 days. And yeah, man, that's where this whole thing started. Now, one of the points I made in the original series was that I didn't really like people describing this as the AI went rogue, because going rogue makes it sound like the model rejected its assignment, developed its own agenda, and just decided, you know what, I'm doing my own thing now. That's not what OpenAI's own explanation said happened. It was actually almost the opposite. The models became extremely focused on completing the goal they were given and crossed boundaries nobody expected them to cross while trying to do it. So my point was, that's not rebellion. That's capability moving faster than the controls around it. And that point has actually gotten stronger since I made those videos. Because after OpenAI disclosed what happened, Anthropic basically said, hold up, maybe we should go check our stuff too. They went back and reviewed more than 141,000 cybersecurity evaluation runs. And they found 3 separate incidents involving 3 different Claude models where the models reached the real internet and gained unauthorized access to systems belonging to 3 actual organizations. Some of those incidents went all the way back to April, and this part matters. Anthropic specifically said they did not find evidence that Claude developed some independent goal of escaping or attacking anybody. The models thought they were still completing the cybersecurity exercises. In other words, that whole point I was making about the difference between going rogue and aggressively pursuing a goal. Yeah. Anthropic basically gave us another real world example of exactly that problem. But then it kept going, because Meta came out and said, yeah, us too. Now, I want to make an important distinction here. Meta's incident was not the exact same thing as OpenAI's. In Meta's case, an outside company running the evaluation accidentally gave the model access to the open internet. The model involved was reported to be Muse Spark 1.1, and once it had that access, it exploited a vulnerability in an outside service. So again, not the exact same mechanics. But now you've got OpenAI, Anthropic, and Meta, 3 major frontier AI companies, all acknowledging situations where advanced models crossed the boundaries people thought were around their testing environments. And then the UK AI Security Institute comes along and gives us an even weirder example. They ran a cybersecurity challenge 122 times across several advanced models. In 10 of those runs, agents took unauthorized actions on the real internet. And most of those actions came from Anthropic's Mythos 5. This is where it starts getting kind of wild. In the most serious example, the agent tried to get malicious code approved for a real open source software project. A human reviewer got in the way. So the model research people connected to the project created fake identities and tried to use social engineering to get around the human reviewer. Then when its behavior got questioned, it changed some of its earlier activity to make what it had been doing look more harmless. And apparently it even considered creating another identity and continuing. Now, that doesn't suddenly mean we should rock with a thought like, see, the AI became evil. That's not what I'm saying. But it does add another layer to what we're talking about. Because now we're not only talking about an AI finding technical vulnerabilities while pursuing a goal, we're talking about behavior that looks like deception emerging as part of that goal pursuit. Basically, the human became an obstacle and the system started figuring out ways around the obstacle. That's worth paying attention to. But there's another part of this that I talked about in the original series that I think is getting more interesting too. I said back then that even if this whole thing was a genuine accident, which I have not seen evidence to say it wasn't, this is also one heck of a capability demonstration. Think about what the original headline told the world. It essentially said, "Hey world, our unreleased AI model found 0-day vulnerabilities, escaped a contained environment, reached the internet, and hacked another major AI company." From a security perspective, terrible story. From a look how capable our technology is perspective, that hits a little different. And I said at the time, a real incident can still become strategic messaging after the fact. Now, fast forward a few weeks, OpenAI has expanded its Daybreak cybersecurity program. They've introduced GPT 5.6 Cyber. They're giving approved cybersecurity partners access to more capable models with fewer restrictions for authorized defensive work. And they're working with companies like CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Networks, IBM, Cisco, Cloudflare, Accenture, and a bunch of other major security and consulting companies. So am I saying OpenAI caused the Hugging Face incident as some marketing stunt? No. There's no evidence I've seen that proves anything like that. But if you raise an eyebrow when I said this could turn into a capability demo, you might be raising the other eyebrow now, because these same capabilities are becoming part of the product story. And honestly, I don't even think the target audience for that story is necessarily you and me. If we think bigger, I think it starts to get a little clearer who the target demo of this, let's call it capability ad, really is. For me, that looks like governments, national security, critical infrastructure, cybersecurity companies, investors, the people deciding where billions of dollars in compute, data centers, infrastructure, and AI development are going to go. These companies are spending ridiculous amounts of money trying to build the most advanced models on the planet. So if your model demonstrates that it can do something people thought was years away, yeah, that capability has value. Again, that is my interpretation, not a proven conspiracy. But I don't think it's crazy to ask who benefits from the world believing these systems are becoming this powerful. And then on August 12th, the story took another turn because Dream Research Labs published a breakdown of what they describe as a near autonomous AI attack framework that was used against, get this, government entities in Asia. And this is important because this wasn't an AI lab accidentally letting a model out during a test. This was a real attack framework. Dream says it was built using readily available agent systems, including Hermes and OpenClaw. It could run up to 8 AI sub-agents at the same time. Over roughly 4 days, the system ran 12 attack waves. It cracked 85 government employee accounts. It gained access through 84 of those accounts. It extracted more than 2,500 personnel records. It found exposed APIs. It mapped government systems. It stole internal credentials. It installed persistent backdoors. And then it expanded its search toward government suppliers, a nuclear safety agency, a government email system, and more than 7 energy companies. And when one attack method didn't work, the system had what Dream calls learning cycles. Basically, it would go research new techniques, look through vulnerability databases, GitHub, security research, learn from what didn't work, and then feed that information into the next attack wave. Now, we need to be careful here too. Dream describes this as near autonomous, not completely autonomous. There was still a human operator behind it. And the evidence points toward a Chinese language operator, but that by itself does not mean we can say this was definitely a Chinese government operation. Those distinctions matter. But think about where this leaves us. When I started talking about this story, the question was, What happens when a highly capable AI agent finds a way outside the boundaries people thought would contain it? Then it became, wait, other AI companies have had similar problems? Then wait, some of these agents are trying to deceive humans to complete the task? And now we're at, wait, people are already building multi-agent systems that can run real cyber operations against government infrastructure? That escalated pretty damn fast. And this is why I keep coming back to the same basic point. The scariest part of this isn't an AI waking up one morning and deciding it wants to destroy humanity. That makes for a dope movie. I mean, we've all seen a few, right? The more realistic problem is powerful systems being given goals, tools, permissions, and access, and then operating at speeds where human beings can't realistically supervise every decision they make. Because once that happens, human in the loop can't just mean somebody gets an email after the AI already did 17,000 things. The controls have to exist before the agent starts moving. Permissions, hard boundaries, monitoring, approval points, kill switches, and defensive AI that can operate at the same speed as the systems is trying to stop. And yeah, man, I know I said the last video was probably going to be the end of this series. Clearly, I should stop saying that, because it seems like every time we think we know everything or we finally have the full story, a new piece of information comes out that we didn't know before. So yeah, I'm not even going to say this is the last update anymore. I'll just say this is where the story stands right now. And if something else happens, apparently I'll see y'all back here. But before I get out of here, let's hit the dojo drills, because episode 38 was mostly about controlling the agent. And this time I want you thinking about the system around the agent. Dojo drill 1, lock down the operator. First, figure out who can make your agent more powerful. Who can add tools, change permissions, give it credentials, turn on internet access, or connect it to production. Because securing the agent doesn't mean much if one person can quietly give that agent the keys to the kingdom. So the drill is simple. Identify everybody who can increase your agent's access. Then make sure those changes are logged, protected, and visible to somebody else. Don't just secure the agent. Secure the person who can unleash it. Dojo drill 2, build machine speed tripwires. Pick 3 things your agent should basically never do during normal operation. Maybe it starts creating identities, scanning hundreds of systems, trying a bunch of credentials, connecting to services you never approved. Whatever abnormal looks like for your workflow, define it now. And if one of those things happens, don't rely on somebody noticing an email 3 hours later. The system should alert, restrict, or stop the agent automatically. Because if AI can move at machine speed, your warning system can't depend entirely on human speed. Drill 3, practice the oh crap plan. Assume prevention fails. Your agent just accessed something it wasn't supposed to. Now what? Who shuts it down? Who kills the credentials? Who cuts network access? Where are the logs? And who figures out what it touched before you turn anything back on? If you don't know those answers before something happens, you don't really have an incident response plan. You got yourself a future meeting, and yeah, that's probably not going to move fast enough. So yeah, man, that's it for this session of the Neural Dojo. Thanks for joining me. If episode 38 was about keeping your AI agents in check, I think this update shows why the responsibility goes even further than that. You've got to control the operator, watch the environment, and be ready for what happens when the controls still fail. If this helped you think about the story a little differently, share it with somebody building with AI agents, automation, or cybersecurity. Oh, and subscribe, because apparently this story has no respect for me saying I'm done talking about it. Until next time, stay curious, stay balanced, and keep training your mind. Peace.